Hi, I'm Bob Burrill. It's Sunday, April 23rd, 2023. A week ago today, I made and posted a memorial video about the passing of a friend of mine, but today is very different from that. Nothing anywhere near as serious as that. But today is a little story that I call The Incredible Journey. Now, I know The Incredible Journey was the title of a Walt Disney children's movie that, as a matter of fact, I saw it in a theater when I was a child. And as you're watching, you may think, as you hear the story, well, Bob, The Incredible Journey, calling it The Incredible Journey, isn't that kind of an exaggeration? Well, it is. It's hyperbole. I wanted to pick a catchy, cool name for my story, so I called it The Incredible Journey. It is an exaggeration, but it is still, I think, a pretty good story and a pretty interesting story. It's a story about how my trip to and from church today went. You might say, well, boy, that doesn't sound interesting, Bob. That sounds boring. I think as you hear the story, you'll find it's pretty interesting. For one thing, I drive a long distance to church. My wife and I drive over 50 miles each way to church. That's a long, long story. It would take a long, long video to explain that, and I don't have time to do that. We live in Boston's southwest suburbs. We drive up to Westminster, Massachusetts, to Bread of Life Church, which is in northern Worcester County. Now, today we were taking two cars because my wife had to meet a friend afterwards and had a commitment to help a friend with a project in the afternoon. So for that reason, we were taking two cars. It was raining, and it is raining today in Massachusetts. The forecast called for possible heavy, even torrential rains in the late afternoon and early evening. But I left quite early in the morning today. And it was raining, but it was very light rain, no big deal. But I will tell you, as I got closer and closer to Westminster and further on the journey, all of a sudden, when I got about 15 miles from Westminster, it's like they say the heavens opened. And there was absolutely torrential rain on Route 2 up there in Leominster and Fitchburg. It was one of those deals that, as people say, you couldn't see your hand in front of you, and I doubt that you could. It was really bad. I mean, it was such heavy rain, and it was so bad. And I hate when it's that bad, and even as cars are passing, they're splashing all kinds of water, and you can see that there's all kinds of water pocketing on the road, and the conditions are really terrible. And I got to tell you, it reminded me of a story I like to listen to radio host Jesse Kelly. He told a story a few months ago that he was out driving in torrential rain, and he was exasperated because the guy in the car in front of him was driving along with his four-way flashers on. And he said that was the most stupid, ridiculous thing he ever saw, that if you were that afraid to drive in the rain, pull over. So I got to admit, I had a quick thought that maybe I should put my four-way flashers on, but then I thought about Jesse Kelly's story, and I thought the better of it, and I didn't. It ended up that 15 miles or so was really difficult. But I got to the church, the rain let up. It was a great day up there. I help my wife, she runs children's ministries up there, and I help her with setting up and the check-ins of the children. We have a whole procedure, checking the kids in and checking the kids out for children's church. I do all of that. The service itself, the youth pastor preached today. Wonderful service, wonderful sermon, wonderful day. And then I was driving home. Now, a few years ago, in torrential rain conditions like that, I was on Route 128 in Waltham and Newton, Massachusetts, and it was horrible. The road actually flooded, and I mean flooded. I was afraid I was just going to get stuck out there. Finally, I pulled off. There's a service area there in Newton, Massachusetts. I pulled off for about 20 minutes. That was a harrowing experience. I thought about that as I left, and I thought, boy, I don't know. I don't want to get myself on 128 in Waltham and Newton and have it be flooded and go through that again. So I decided I wasn't going to go through that. I decided I was going to cut down, take Route 117. Route 117 is very much a secondary road. It's not a highway at all, really. It's a secondary road, but I was going to take Route 117 from the Leominster area out to Interstate 495, then get on 495, go down to Framingham area, and then take back roads back to where I live. That was my plan. Well, I got on Route 1, and Route 117 normally is a beautiful road. Goes through Lancaster and Bolton and Stowe. These apple growing communities, there are beautiful orchards in that area. It's a beautiful scenic road and some really nice towns, some really nice scenery, usually a very pleasant drive. Well, that's what I thought I was going to be in for today, and that was not what happened. So I was driving along in Lancaster, Mass, and if you're familiar with it, I was coming upon the intersection of Route 70, which is another secondary road, and suddenly I saw to my right, you know those kind of big orange signs that say work area or road work ahead? I think it said road work. I think that's what it said, a big orange sign, and it said road work. And then I no sooner passed that sign than I passed a large white sign with black writing. And that sign said pavement ends. And I thought, boy, pavement ends? Pavement ends? Well, no sooner did I have that thought than boom, the pavement did end. Now keep in mind it's a rainy day, and keep in mind there were torrential rains in that area this morning. And suddenly I was driving on mud, as were a lot of other cars going in both directions. We were driving in mud, we were driving in ruts, we were driving in terrible conditions, and because of the torrential rains, there were some huge holes full of water. And at one point, I kid you not, there was literally a whole stream of muddy water that had formed flowing right across the road. So you had to drive across this muddy stream. And there was a pickup truck right in front of me. And as I glanced around, all of the cars were just bouncing up and down and bouncing up and down. We were all driving terribly slow. And frankly, it was very scary. And you may think, well, I've been through things like that before. And actually, I have too. A lot of times you'll hit a condition like that, and for maybe 200 feet, the road will be like that. And you'll think, what's going on? And all of a sudden it's over. Well, this was no 200 feet. I don't know what the exact distance was. I'm guessing it was at least a half a mile. And we're driving very slow, and picture it, mud, picture huge puddles of water, picture that whole stream of muddy water flowing across the road, and picture it in some places just the road could not have been more uneven. Now listen, what I was driving a 2001 Toyota Corolla with high mileage. I've got 2 bad tires on the car. I've got a bad exhaust system on the car. And the car is not a particularly stable road car. Under the best of conditions, it's not all that stable. So you can imagine what it was like driving this car. Honestly, at times I thought, am I going to get stuck here? Am I going to have to get out of the car and the car is stuck here in some pothole or something? Well, it was really scary. It was horrible. I did get through it. Finally was back on pavement and finally was back to normal. I don't know. Well, I think I do know. I was going to say, I don't know which part of the drive to and from church was worse today. Going to church in that torrential rain that was so bad, I felt like putting on my 4-way flashers, or going home in that condition on Route 117 with the mud and the holes and the ruts and the unevenness and the whole stream of muddy water. That was worse. Going home was worse. The thing that surprised me is I didn't see any police, no police presence. Really, what there should have been prior to hitting that pavement ends, there should have been a big warning sign saying, warning, dangerous road conditions ahead. Should have said road work, but then dangerous road conditions, travel at your own risk. That's what it should have said, seriously. Because had it said that, I would have turned around. As inconvenient as it would have been very inconvenient. But I would have turned around, I would have gone back to Route 2, and I would have taken another way down to Framingham. So A very interesting road trip today, an incredible journey. If you happen to be watching this on or soon after April 23rd, 23, and you're going to be traveling on 117 through Lancaster, Massachusetts, all I can say is be warned. I'm thankful that I made it safely today.